This is WGRG 100.5 FM, where we meet the absolute minimum FCC broadcasting standards. It's time to hang on and brace yourself for a community radio program that's frankly indescribable. Let's talk Geneseo. Two guys with nothing better to do on a Friday morning but to talk about our community. Geneseo City Administrator Brandon Meglin and City Alderman Keith Kennett. And yeah, nobody, and I mean nobody, puts the blah in blah, blah, blah like these guys do.
Hey, that's us, Brandon. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Keith. Great. How are you?
I'm doing fine on this cold Friday morning here in Geneseo. About 5 degrees outside. A little bit of snow last night if you're heading out to school or work or snowblow or take out your garbage or whatever you might be heading out to do. You'll notice a little bit of lot of cold, a little bit of snow. City was out, saw the streets were plowed this morning.
Yeah, it looks like we got maybe approaching 3 inches in the overnight hours. I know the plowing crews went out just after midnight last night, so they're on it.
That's all good. And again, 3 inches, so I think everyone breathes a little sigh of relief in that if you have a driveway, there's just a friendly little ridge.
Yeah,
that you have to deal with. And
yeah, it's probably the kind of snow where if you have a leaf blower, you could go out there and blow it off, maybe.
Yeah.
Nice and fluffy.
Yes, see, you can tell we've been beaten down by the snow, and we're looking for any little positive thing we can think of.
The glass is always half full here at Let's Talk Geneseo.
Exactly, but appreciate everybody tuning in on this Friday morning, and we will turn it over again to Brandon to introduce our a familiar guest that we have this morning. We always look forward to it and get this thing moving.
Yep, we're here with Mark Gravichevsky again for our reoccurring segment. We've been having Mark in about once a month to do the Let's Talk Money with Mark segment. Mark is with QC Investment Group and shares all things financial with us and gives us updates on the economy and what's going on out there in the financial climate. So welcome, Mark.
Hey, good to be back. You know, one thing I did notice, that introduction, was that here the last time? It's catchy, and I just wanted to compliment you guys on that. It's a little bit of local flair. You know, it's a smaller community-based radio station. It's very catchy. I like it.
Well, thank you very much. That's something, it's new for 2024 as we, a new intro, some new microphone arms, some new sound-absorbing pads on the desk here in the studio. So, I mean, we're just kind of opening those budget doors to, have those, $50, $60 expenditures, something appropriate for our program.
Yeah, is there any credit due on anybody who helped create that new intro, Keith? Or
just a collaborative effort.
Okay.
Between yours truly and then other people he can rope into it.
Yeah.
Well, it's catchy. I think everybody likes it, especially, New Year. We get this blast of cold weather we're all kind of dealing with. So, great introduction.
Oh, well, thank you for that.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll get into it with Mark here. Today we're going to be kind of focused on some recession concerns and questions and diving into that. So, to get started, Mark, we hear a lot about this debate on whether the economy is going to go into a recession or not again. What are your thoughts there?
Where there is a general consensus on Wall Street is that the economy will significantly weaken over the next 6 to 9 months. Where that debate truly lies, and it's about a 50-50 split on Wall Street, is whether that weakness is severe enough to ultimately send the economy into a recession. About half of Wall Street, thinks that the economy will remain, just strong enough to barely avoid that recession, while the other half of Wall Street tends to argue that, a recession is inevitable. Although that any recession would likely be somewhat mild. Personally, I kind of lean towards that side of the argument that I do think we'll get some type of very mild recession. But as a big caveat, though, and I think one of the reasons there is this big 50-50 split on Wall Street on whether we do or whether we don't go into a recession is there's a number of variables and dynamics we're actively seeing in the economy right now that could quickly send that recession needle one way or another very quickly.
Yeah. It seems to be this debate, and as we were just talking before the show, as we enter the election season now, excuse me, you seem to get, you hear people talk about the economy so differently depending on which channel you're watching or what newspaper you're picking up. Why is that? And why are there's so many groups that argue that things are going to significantly weaken, and then you turn on something else and you hear people talking about it like it's sunshine and rainbows?
Well, obviously, depending on which channel, which newspaper, which, talking head that you're viewing on television, there's always going to be some type of political slant one way or another, whether that talking head leans left or right. But one of the things that I all of us really want to bring to this discussion is just more of an objective opinion of what's driving all of this apprehension over does the economy go into a recession or not. I mean, the economy is essentially a proxy for the livelihoods of so many Americans. So I think I'm very proud of the fact that we just want to collectively, the three of us just want to cut through any political aspect and just kind of figure out what's really going on. In my opinion, Brandon, it comes down to this debate on whether we do or don't go into a recession. It comes down to the cumulative impact that high inflation and high interest rates have had on the American consumer. Remember, consumer spending drives about 70% of our nation's entire economic growth. But, for 3 years, the American consumer has been facing high inflation. Many interest rates are at or near a 40-year high. Savings accounts are dwindling. Household debt is now at an all-time record high. In fact, right now it costs the average American household about $10,000 a year more today to buy the very same goods and services that they bought 3 years ago. Yeah. And look, at some point, the American consumer is going to say, look, I'm done. No more. I can't afford to spend these to pay these high prices anymore. And I'm certainly not going to go into debt to do so. And if this consumer spending, as many people on Wall Street are predicting, does head south, well, remember, consumer spending drives 70% of our nation's total economic growth. And if consumer spending starts to drop, so goes the economy. So that's why, in my opinion, it's what happens to consumer spending over the upcoming 6 to 9 months that will ultimately drive the extent of any potential recession we might get.
So on that same thread, last week we saw inflation jump from 3.1% to 3.4%. Again, how to predict, but how concerned are you about that jump? And when we see these kinds of highs and lows as a constant here recently?
Well, last June, if we kind of go back in time a little bit, last June when inflation first declined to kind of about that 3% rate, there were a lot of talking heads in the media saying, okay, hey, look, this inflation problem is behind us. It's just a matter of in a couple more months, inflation is going to further decline down to that ideal target rate of inflation of 2% that the Federal Reserve and all of us eventually want to get back to. But, as I said back then, as I'm saying right now, because inflation is so widespread and because inflation has become so embedded within our economy. Any return to that 2% target rate of inflation that, again, we want to get back to, it's going to be a very slow and gradual process. So last week when that CPI inflation report showed that inflation jumped from 3.1 to 3.4%, it really wasn't much of a surprise to me because, again, I think we need to get used to this higher for longer inflation, that inflation is going to remain stubbornly high for quite some time.
And one of the things that we were talking before off air, but talk of the recession, at least it seems as though there's been a recession 6 months away for the last 3 years or so. That we've been projecting this, and we kind of come close, but we never really quite get there. We're kind of in that situation again, but at some point, there does seem to be a sense that there is another shoe to drop, and as the anyone that's gone grocery shopping or anything like that, you're well aware of the inflation, and so you kind of adjust what you spend on. You maybe dip into your savings a little bit. You kind of make it work for a month or two or three. But as this, it almost seems though that it's and what we're trying to avoid, at least I assume, is that this becomes the new norm almost of sorts. But we've kind of spent our ammunition, up to this point where we don't have many reserves, and then it seems you blend in. That if you're more of a high income earner or what have you, if your grocery bill goes from $100 to $150, it may not make that big a difference in your life. But if you're though not in that bracket and more maybe a middle or lower income or what have you, I mean, percentage wise, I mean, it's huge. The impact as you go down into lower income seems to be more exponential. But at some point, though, it does seem that there is this fear, and maybe that's what Wall Street and some of this is, and this long-running statement or question is something for you, Mark. But is there some fear, though, that if there is some sort of a downturn ahead, that it just might be pretty significant, only because we've been kind of tiptoeing through the tulips a bit, but when it really hits, we won't have much powder left that's dry to deal with it.
You're right. I mean, you can argue that it's kind of like that story of crying wolf one too many times, and predicting what's going to happen in the economy. It's a little bit art, it's a little bit science, but you make a very valid point. I mean, Wall Street has been bringing up this concerns of a recession really, at the end of 2021, this very start of like January 2022, you kind of started to hear those recessionary concerns that, okay, it's summer of 2022, we may start to see some of this recession start to hit, and then a couple months later, okay, well, now it's the fall of 2022. We may expect that recession gets pushed back to even further to the end of 2022, where we just left. Part of the reason for this kind of uncertainty and kind of this guesstimate of when we get this recession, a couple of main factors. One has been, to be honest, the resiliency of the U.S. labor market. Around that time, early 2022, the U.S. labor market, the unemployment rate was around 3.4, 3.5%, which was a 50-year low. Wall Street has expected that unemployment rate to go from 3.4 to 3.5 to maybe 4.3%, but over the last 12 months, unemployment in the labor market have remained fairly strong. Here we are, we just got past December that reported an unemployment rate of 3.7%. So as long, the labor market is such a significant factor on the health of the U.S. economy. Because when you think about it, when people have jobs, when jobs are plentiful, they're confident in their current position, they're confident in their outlook. I'm going to have a good, steady job 3, 6, 9, 12 months down the road, what does that do for people? It increases their confidence, and confident people tend to go out and spend their money much more freely. So really, it's been the strength of the U.S. labor market that's kind of pushed back this when we're going to get this potential recession from summer of last year to summer of this year. Another factor that really kind of goes into the guesstimation of why Wall Street thinks we're going to get a recession 6, 9, 12 months down the road is because historically all of these interest rate hikes we've had over the last year or so, it takes about 6 to 9 months for the impact of all those interest rate hikes to go from near 0% to a 40-year high in interest rates. This is the most aggressive pace of interest rate hikes by the U.S. Federal Reserve going back to the early 1980s. And Wall Street is thinking we've had this tremendous spike in interest rates over the past year. And historically, Keith, it takes about 6 to 9 months for the impact of all those interest rate hikes to eventually and gradually filter its way through the economy. So that's why you hear a lot from Wall Street economists of projecting something 6, 9, 12 months down the road.
Yeah. One more question, and then we'll take you off the hot seat, Mark.
It's better than the cold seat. I mean, with all this cold weather, I felt like duct taping a quilt around my head this morning.
It is kind of the cold seat. I probably shouldn't have worn a T-shirt in here today. I forgot how this room, Keith's got a stocking cap on in here.
Hey, I'm ready. I forgot it was beach day or something. I'm not sure.
You look under the table. Is Brandon wearing shorts and sandals? I mean,
well, I'll tell you what. Yesterday it got in the mid-20s, and I felt like going home and putting shorts on when I went out for lunch. It felt balmy out there. But we talked about next month, maybe in the February show, focusing on investments and kind of diving into that. But I guess to wrap up today's discussion on this, I mean, any practical tips with the current conditions for your everyday Geneseo family that is just maybe looking for a little bit of advice on the day-to-day, what to do to help curtail some of the conditions?
Well, kind of from a stock market standpoint, and I think that's going to make a great segment next month. We can kind of go into a little bit more on the investing side. But as far as the investing side, obviously we had a very strong rebound in the stock market for a couple of different reasons, and we can extrapolate on those next time. But I think, in my opinion, the first 6 months of this year is going to be very choppy. As I said, there's a number of dynamics out there that Wall Street is really keeping its finger on the pulse of. You think of what's going to happen with inflation, what's going to happen with the Federal Reserve hopes to start cutting interest rates. How fast can they start reducing pressure on that? But also we have some geopolitical items that are kind of been heating up again. What happens in Ukraine, what happens in the Middle East, and we're slowly starting to see that expand across the broader Middle East region, which impacts the global economy and potentially impacts inflation, especially in the Red Sea. The Red Sea is one of the big transit hubs for many types of commodities and goods. So I think, in my opinion, the first 6 months of the year, it's going to be very choppy. Once we get to the summer, then we're in an election year, and it's kind of wide open. Who are the candidates? What are their platforms? Who's going to win? So, I think it's, in my opinion, you go from what's the first 6 months of the year going to look like, and then what can potentially the second half of the year bring us.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mark.
Appreciate Mark coming in, as always, with good information. And
great to be here, guys, as always. Look forward to next time.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon, citywide stuff. I know we were talking a little bit too. Today is day 2 of garbage pickup. So, but as we talked about last week, there was no pickup last week. So, if you do have your a week's worth of extra garbage. If you need to stack it up on top of your garbage can or what have you, just do whatever you need to do, and they'll pick it up.
Yeah.
So for those putting out your garbage today, just a reminder of that. And but there's a couple other things going on, I believe.
Yeah, garbage. A lot of frustration there last week, as a lot of folks saw. I think we were not on an island on that one. I think pretty much every city in garbage service, like we have, which is outsourced to Republic Services, had to have significant delays, and most of them ended up pushing back to next pickup, which is what happened here in Geneseo. They are taking, as Keith mentioned, anything and everything you put out there. So you got the extra bags. Hopefully folks did that yesterday. Today, if you're in the Friday pickup as your normal routine, pile them up. Recycling boxes, extra trash bags, whatever you want to throw out there, nicely stacked next to the garbage can. They'll get out of the truck. They're sending a special truck to pick those things up, because the one with the hydraulic arm can't quite articulate to pick up each individual trash bag, but they'll be out there tossing them in.
Yeah,
if need be.
And again, that's normal garbage. You wouldn't want to think of this as winter cleanup week or something to where you...
Yeah, no sofas or mattresses, but normal recycling.
Just your
or
normal
trash.
refuse.
Yeah, they will grab that though. If they do miss it, call City Hall. Sometimes that happens. There's been some white garbage bags out there in snow piles that they've missed. They'll come back around and grab them if that does happen to you. So
Brandon and I, we have a pickup truck. We'll come around.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for volunteering.
We'll get covered.
I might have to go put on a warmer shirt.
I'll be the one dressed up. Brandon will be the one in the T-shirt.
Keith, I swear I thought he was going to start yanking off some of those T-shirts off the wall as extra layers this morning.
Yeah, the Dwyer and Micros one would be nice. Yeah.
Desperate times, start ripping the carpet off the floor, anything.
Last Friday. So we were here last Friday. I think we barely got here, but we had Wyatt Breezer from Hammond Henry Hospital in. Did a great update with Wyatt on what's going on at the hospital with the new CEO coming in and some updates there. But at the end of Friday, we ended up with, as a lot of people who follow the city and the police department on Facebook saw, the final total was 17.4 inches. So Geneseo, Illinois got the second place trophy in the country for that snow total.
Yes, and I do have to say, we were here. In school, of course, was closed, and we were here, and even that little drive then back when we left, what had accumulated just here in the studio, but that was quite the storm, and on balance, whenever you're dealing with essentially an 18-inch snow, it's I don't know that ever goes well. However, on balance, the streets were plowed, got to them, pretty quickly. We were able to get around and stuff pretty thoroughly. In my, the occupation, I do a lot of traveling, and so having had the opportunity to be in other cities and stuff that day, and then as coming back into Geneseo, not to tap ourselves, on the back, but to give a well-deserved shout-out, though. We were way better than almost any other town I traversed in on that day, insofar as having the streets clear and being able to get down them and stuff. But,
and we did find out that we are a suburb of Davenport.
Yes, we are. Part of the quads, the Davenport DMA or what have you, but one of those outlier suburbs.
We wanted to share that. A lot of the national news outlets were reporting that Geneseo was the number 2 when the stats came out there at the end of the day or into the weekend. And we shared the Washington Post story on Facebook, which named Geneseo as a suburb of Davenport, Iowa, which to me just added to the interesting nature of the story and the reason to put it out there.
Brings a smile.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why not? But yes, and to your point, Keith, I mean, we're really proud of what Public Works has done. They've been very organized. It's been an unprecedented event here in town. They've done great with communication, broke things down to an A and a B platoon, and ran for 24 hours for multiple days there. And during the day now and after hours, some days leading up to today, they have still been doing pile pickup, some of the boulevards and things to just even clean things up more and help with, visibility when you're turning corners and trying to knock down some of those piles. We're hopeful with the forecast here next week that by the middle part of next week, little bit of a melt probably, enough at least to get down to maybe some compacted ice down on sidewalks, give folks, an opportunity to, if you haven't had the chance to fully clean off sidewalks and things like that, the police department put that message out there too. It is their job in code enforcement. If somebody doesn't do their sidewalk, that is responsibility of you, or if you have a business, to clear the sidewalk in front of your property. Obviously, going to be a little bit relaxed there. There may be warnings that go out or notifications, verbally. If they see you, they may mention it to you. But as far as citations, the chief put out, there will be no citations issued until next week. But by Tuesday, people need to, hopefully, with getting into the 30s, get out there and get those sidewalks clear. It's important for especially kids walking to school, and we don't want everybody, especially kids, to have to go out into the street and make their way to the different schools. So appreciate everybody's patience there and help getting those things cleared out.
Well, and if you're looking for a warm cup of coffee or what have you today, what might be a place you might want to consider later on this morning?
Yeah, today is Scooter's Coffee, which is at the corner of Route 6 in Oakwood. Been a project in the works for the past year. They were supposed to have their ribbon cutting last Friday, and as we know, pretty much everything except us being in here got canceled last Friday. Thanks a lot, Keith.
Crack the whip.
So they
Brandon's going, the one day Keith couldn't postpone the program.
Why are we here?
17.4 inches of snow.
We're going.
Yeah.
So they didn't do the ribbon cutting, but they joined the Chamber of Commerce. So Zach Sullivan will be down there doing the ribbon cutting for the Scooters franchise down there today at 11 for anybody that feels like coming out, getting a cup of coffee and seeing that process. So it's exciting. It's a nice addition to Geneseo, and we look forward to them being a contributor in the community.
Always good to have new businesses in town.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think I may have shared this last week during the Blizzard program, but do like that it's grandkid friendly in that they have the 3-pack of mini donuts.
Oh.
So we have the 3 car seats. So if we have just the 3 of them, oh, that's a sweet drive through there. You spend $1, you have 3 mini donuts. Pass those out to the 3 grandkids.
I thought you were going to say 3
win-win.
mini shots of espresso and have those kids bouncing off their car seat even more.
We've never felt so alive. We like it when we go out with Grandpa. All right, you say hi to Mom and Dad. I'll see you later.
Yeah. Now here's a shovel, kid. Get to work.
Yeah, exactly. 3-pack of double shots of espresso for snow shoveling season.
Yeah, never thought of that angle, but yeah. Well, I'm just sticking with the mini donuts. That'll be maybe baby steps, Mark.
Yeah.
We build up to the.
Yeah.
A couple other things that we're excited about as we look forward to warmer weather. The landing area down at State and Oakwood, people have probably seen, we've been redoing that beautification project down there with the new city sign. Flagpoles are up. Thank you very much to Springfield Armory.
Yes.
They have contributed that 3 flagpole system there to enhance that area even more. We are getting close to raising those flags. When the weather turns a little bit here, we'll see flags go up down there for the first time. Geneseo Electric Utility has put in all the lighting for us there, and so that will all be lit up and be real nice at night. And then in the spring, we'll move on to the little poured concrete circle there, which will place the what we call the historic boulder, which marks the first ever log cabin in Geneseo. That will be lit up as well. Some benches will go in, some landscaping, and we'll probably do a ribbon cutting down there. Maybe we'll go live that day from the landing area in late spring when everything's done.
We could definitely do that, and shout out again to Springfield Armory. You'd be surprised at how much a 25 or 30-foot commercial flagpole costs. And for them to donate that was very generous. And we shared before, but in the end, and we're talking it's stayed in Oakwood, but the new welcome sign for the community, the new landing spot and location for our historic boulder, as Brandon just said, for the first log cabin. And this would be a nice, just kind of spruce up that whole area and bring it in line, too, with the other new entry signs we've had at various locations throughout the community, some new signage up at Windy Point Park. Try to have a more uniform approach as well as we're doing these things. And it still is something that we are looking into, but a potential phase 2 that we're working towards is to still somewhere in that general area then to have potentially a pedestrian bridge that would cross the creek.
Yeah.
And originally, you may remember, it was all part of one large project. We decided to separate them out and move forward with the signage improvements, and we're still pursuing some grant funding and various things for that pedestrian bridge, but it would more than likely end up closer towards to the south a bit, towards the central bank sign, and not right at the by the new welcome sign. So anyway, a lot of nice things happening there. Again, right now it's under a few feet of snow, but it'll be the flagpoles you can definitely see, and we're going to be getting those up, as Brandon said, here hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah,
So.
and people probably get tired of us hearing us say it, but I mean, we are really so fortunate in Geneseo to have the amount of businesses and these foundations that contribute to these projects. I mean, especially with these beautification projects, we are trying to be, very smart when it comes to actually spending city coffer funds. These projects, these beautification projects, are being funded privately. The Miller Foundation is the primary funder of that whole project, and then with Springfield adding in the flagpoles, the Daughters of the American Revolution, the DAR organization, is contributing to some fixes on that boulder, the plaques, the monuments that will go down there. So it's really a community-funded project, and it's not a tax dollar funded project on this one, which is nice. And then, as Keith said, that Windy Point Observation Area sign, which just to tie everything together, coming in north on 82 into town. We're fortunate there during the tornadoes last year. If there was a good thing to the tornado,
we always try to put a positive spin on
remember,
things.
the glass is half full here. The old one got wiped out by that straight line wind event, and so these things are insured, luckily. So this new sign, which will be lit up, it's an enhanced sign there, and so thank you, insurance.
Yes. There you go, and a little bit too, but we are for a town of 6,500, it seems Geneseo, we've always a little bit played above our weight, if you will. We just have a lot of amenities and things that a lot of towns our size really don't, but that is these foundations and businesses and what have you. Just like Brandon said, is that we are so blessed by this support network. And any organization in town would probably sing similar praises about what we have, and a lot of them, though, thanks to the people that loved this town 100 years ago and 50 years ago and put things in place to where we are now able to have just all these benefits and stuff because of that foresight. And so may we never forget that, and do our part to make sure we're kicking it forward for those coming behind us too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I know Brandon